Hey guys, we just got booted off Facebook. I don't know why, but we're back to finish our SAG to join or not to join. All right, so I'll just recap where we were. So the first way to join is if you get hired as a principal player, principal, or have a speaking role on a SAG film, a videotape, television program, or commercial, which is awesome. They say it's the least likely way. Not everybody joins that way. The second way, number two, is how I joined, which is you can be an affiliate of one of the other unions that are affiliated with SAG, which is AEA, that's for theater. Let's see who's joined us. Taryn! Taryn, yo! And Catherine's back. Awesome. So you can join if you're a member of AEA, which is for theater, AGVA, which is for circuses, Las Vegas showrooms, cabarets, stuff like that, AGMA, which is opera, ACTRA, which is Canadian radio, or actors or radio performers, which is great. All right, so if you do that, you can just pay your dues and join SAG as well, which is really cool. The third way to join SAG, and this is how a lot of people do it, and it's not a bad way at all, is to get hired as a SAG extra on a SAG film or commercial or whatever, and that's the most likely way people get in. Now, so it's tricky about this. My students ask me all the time, okay, so I was on, this SAG thing that's here in Salt Lake, and I have 3 pink vouchers. And I always thought, yeah, the 3 vouchers, that's proof enough. You can send those into SAG and you can join the union or become SAG eligible, which we're going to talk about SAG eligibility in a second. So, but that is not true. Those 3 vouchers will not get you in. I know I called SAG yesterday and asked them. I was like, hey, I have all these students. They want to know, what's the deal? The 3 vouchers do not work. This is what works. So what you have to do is you have to actually, let me get down here. You have to have an original paycheck stub from your shoot. So if you did 3 days and you have the pay stub, just one pay stub, that's totally fine if it was for all 3 days, all right? Or you have to get the original activity printout or report from the payroll company. And I was like, what the heck is that? So I asked them. So basically what you have to do is you either have to talk to the extra agency that signed you up, the booker for that, and they can get you that printout that you were there, or you can call the production company itself and get that paperwork, all right? So we're gonna get back to how you become, well, I guess we'll do it right now. So what you do is when you have that, when you have those actual pay stubs or the original activity printout report from the payroll, you mail those into SAG, or if you live in LA, you can just go into the SAG office and do it. If you're gonna mail it in, you are going to need, I wanna make sure I have this right, you need to include on a separate piece of paper your name, your current address, your current telephone number, and your date of birth. And then you also need to give them a self-addressed stamped envelope so that they can return your documents. They can return that pay stub. They can return, I don't know, the paper that says your name and stuff on it. So you cannot send them a photocopy of the paycheck stub or of the activity printout or report from the payroll. They have to be the originals. So what I recommend you do is you scan those in or photocopy them yourself and then send them the originals and they will send them back, okay? All right, so it's also a pretty big deal if you try to be sneaky about getting into SAG and you're not really eligible. They do some pretty big stuff. They, legitimacy of application. So if you have false representation that, or your deception on your part, that you were on a SAG shoot and you weren't, or it wasn't SAG or whatever, they will find that out probably, and it could jeopardize your further chances to join the guild. So don't do that. Don't fake it. Really do it for real. Do it for legit. Okay, so that's how you become SAG. Now, once you become SAG, you just have to pay them a little bit of money and then you join. Once you become eligible, you can join. The SAG dues, let's see, I think it's $3,000 to actually join SAG. And a lot of people, if they don't live in LA, they're like, well, I live in Atlanta, or I live in Salt Lake, or I live in Vancouver, or whatever. Not Vancouver, yeah, Vancouver, Washington. They're like, SAG fees here is only like $1,500. So I'll join here and then I won't have to pay the $3,000 when I get to LA. That's not true. You can join in a district that is a lower amount for SAG, that's great, but once you get to a major market like LA or New York, you're gonna have to pay the extra amount. You're gonna have to pay the full $3,000. And I'm not exactly sure if it's exactly $3,000 right now. I should know that. I don't see that on my paperwork, but that's really easy to find out. I think it's around $3,000. Okay, so you've paid your money. Awesome, great. Now, the next thing is dues are based on, you're gonna have to pay your yearly dues for SAG. You become a member. Dues right now are $201.96. And then in addition, members pay 1.575% of all individual earnings under SAG contracts between $1 and $500,000. So you're going to have to pay 1.575% of all your earnings. So usually SAG will send you a little letter saying, hey, what were your earnings? You fill it out, you send it in to them, and then they will bill you for the extra earnings. Now, I personally think it's very unfair that it's just from $1 to $500,000 that pays SAG. I think that the big people should be paying something. You know, the people that like make millions and millions, the actors that make millions and millions. I think they should be, I mean, maybe a small percent, 0.25%. So I think that would really help the union. And why not? They can certainly pay 0.25%. It doesn't have to be 1.5. That's what I would do. I'd say if you make over 500,000, you have to pay 0.15. We'll give them 0.15% of your earnings, and that would really help. Okay. Also, I've been calling it SAG. It's SAG after now. We all know that. I'm just calling it SAG for short. So there's 2 installments of payments for your dues. I believe it's November and May. They'll send you a bill. You can pay online. It's really simple. Let's see, what else? What else do I want to talk about? Okay, so what else I want to talk about is about SAG eligibility. All right, so if you work on these, if you become an extra on a SAG project and you have 3 vouchers, it's really awesome. You can join SAG. Do you want to join SAG? Do you want to? If you're in LA, yeah, probably. Maybe not. If you're outside of LA in a smaller market, you probably don't want to join SAG right away, but you do want to be SAG eligible. All right, so you can send in all your paperwork and say that you want to be SAG eligible and not join the union, and they won't charge you the $3,000, and they'll give you a SAG eligibility. I can't talk today. A SAG eligibility standing, which means you can join SAG whenever you want. So that's really probably the best thing to do if you are not in LA working on SAG projects constantly. Just go ahead and be SAG eligible. All right, it's great to have that. It's great on your resume. So you would just send your paperwork and they would say, yeah, you're SAG eligible. That's because a lot of districts outside of LA are right to work states. Like here in Utah, it's a right to work state, meaning that if you are SAG, you can work on a non-SAG project and not be penalized for it. Which can be helpful because like out here, we don't get a ton of work like you do in LA or you do in New York or Atlanta. So we don't have as many opportunities. SAG, you know, if you're SAG, there's a lot of people, you shouldn't work non-union, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes if you want to work, sometimes you have to do that. And anyway, it's your decision. You can decide what you want to do that with that. There was something else I was going to talk about with this. Okay, so also a lot of my students train here in Salt Lake and they get a great reel and they get a great resume and blah, blah, blah. And then they move to LA, they make the big jump, which is so cool. And I tell them all to be SAG eligible before they get there. I guess you could earn your SAG eligibility there as well, being an extra or whatever. But I was telling them at first, as soon as you get to LA, you got to join. But that is not true, I'm finding out. Actually, what's better is once you get there and you're SAG eligible, stay eligible until you have to join. So one of my students, Amy, has been there for a year and she's worked a lot. She has a commercial agent, she has a manager. She's been sent out like on tons and tons and tons of non-SAG commercials. And so she was getting to audition, she was booking the work. Now, you don't get paid as well for those, and it's really awful because a lot of commercials are not SAG anymore, which is just, it's a travesty. It's not fair because you get like $1,500 for the day and you don't get residuals. Whereas if you book a national commercial with SAG, you could make $80,000 that year from it because of all the residuals and all that kind of stuff. But that's a different kettle of fish. We'll just put that aside. Okay, so she got there and her people, her manager and everything, advised her not to join SAG until she had to. And so that way she could go out to all these auditions for all this other stuff. She could build up her reel more, she could book more stuff. And then she did book a pilot, and then she had to join. And she had her money saved up. So you want to save your $3,000, get a little special bank account if you want to, put money into that, and she could join. So she pretty much had to join now because she booked this thing. So now she can only go out for SAG projects in LA. She can only go out for SAG commercials and SAG films and TV and that kind of stuff. But that's okay because she's at that level now. All right, that's pretty much what I have to say about SAG, guys. If you have any other questions about it, please let me know. I'm gonna put a link in here. Oh, sorry, I saw this question. I just saw the question from you, Courtney. I had my paper up so I couldn't see. So SAG eligibility doesn't expire, is what Courtney is asking. Yes, it does not expire. To my knowledge, once you're SAG eligible, you're always gonna be SAG eligible. So it just depends on when you wanna join. I would look into that. I don't know if there's like statutes of limitations, like 15 years or something like that. I've never heard of that. But I'm sure at least for like 5 or 6 years, if you're SAG eligible, you're SAG eligible. So then you can join. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was helpful. Mickey hopes it was helpful too. Okay, thank you so much for watching Acting from All Angles. I love that you guys are here. And for the people that are going to be watching after this is live, that's great. I'm sorry that you missed the first. I had this fun music. I'm going to play it again because it's really cool. And but I'm going to put those together. And you know, you can always find these on my blog, actorsandactionclass.com, the blog there. I always repost these the next day in a blog post. All right, so that's there. Next week on the 6 keys, we're going to be on craft. We're going to be talking about memorization. Why not? Why not? We can never talk about memorization enough in my book. We'll be talking about some new techniques that I've been learning, passing on to my students. Yeah, it's hugely important. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. Let's get back to our music. All right, so we're gonna dance it out. Here we go. Come on, Nikki.